Go ahead, pick them off the board because the board is loaded.
It's loaded, but we'll start at the front of the line. If you donate money to our show, we'll take it. You go to the front. Matthew Wallow for $4.99. Thanks, Matt. He says, hey, Lee, did you hear anything about Shield being upset that $50 million was taken from the trust to pay the Padres?
Well, that was part of the lawsuit. The quote, there was transfer of money in investments, and she was holding it against the Seidler brothers for having made this transaction. But their response was, these were investments that were real positive for the trust. And, she got $42 million in transfers in real estate procedures that the trust made after Peter passed on that she requested. That was taken care of. Now, she's asked for annual payments of a significant amount of money. And Matthew Seidler, in his response to the initial lawsuit, said, we are not paying her $20 million per year out of this family trust. So there's a lot of he said, she said. But at the end of the day, this thing will never go to court. This will wind up in arbitration because that's how baseball settles ownership disputes. That's how they settled the Minnesota Twins problems with the Pollard family, the Angelos family, where the franchise finally got sold to David Rubenstein in Baltimore. So this will wind up there. Hopefully, it's not going to impact the business model. The Padres say business as normal as of today, when John Seidler was unanimously approved to be the control person. But at the end of the day, the Padres still have to reduce their payroll. That's right now at $215 million, and it sure looks to me as if there's probably going to be another big trade, somebody leaving here with a big contract and replaced by younger guys. So AJ Preller's, he's got time to still work magic, but it looks like he's going to have to work some magic because I don't think this is going to be the roster we're going to have opening day.
One of the listeners on social media commented on this, and they said, there's really not much to worry about here. If they're moving money around, it's a thing that happens all the time with trusts. And it sounds like, she was moving money around when he was in the ICU, but it sounds awful. But it's really what happens is people kind of prepare, for when the big man goes down.
And the fact that it was laid out and documents were signed as what the quote succession for Peter Seidler would be, in terms of who's going to run this franchise, and they all signed off on it. So that's why John Seidler is the guy, and Matthew Seidler is going to be part of this equation. But I'm led to believe that John Seidler is also going to take over operational, quote, the trust, rather than three brothers running the trust. John Seidler would be the point person and the leader of the Peter Seidler Trust.
Some Padre fans are like, man, that John Seidler guy, he's not even a Padre fan. He's still a Dodger guy.
No, I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. Okay, next question.
Okay, we'll go here back to Matt because he's always giving us money, and we'll take it. Thank you, Matt. Bomber looks sad that Luka is what he always wanted.
Well, true, but, Steve Ballmer has tried very hard to fix the Clippers, change the Clippers, position the Clippers to be a championship team, and he's done it twice now in both years. Both times he did it, his team got destroyed by injuries. He doesn't have a lot of cap space right now, and that becomes a big issue. But he does have all his draft picks, which the Lakers do not. What you have with the Lakers is what you're going to have with the Lakers through the year that LeBron James leaves. Once LeBron retires, which might be 2 years out, you're going to have $51 million cap space to use. But they have no way to make any trades, any other acquisitions, because they have no other assets to use now. They don't have a draft pick, do not have a number one pick through, I think it's 2031 through that draft. So this is what you got. It'll be fun to see. It was fun to see how Luka plays. We'll see if Mark Williams can actually physically hold up, because he's missed so many games in Charlotte with a back injury. And that's tough for a guy supposed to be a jumping jack forward and all the physical combat in the paint. So this is a bit of a question mark as it relates to the Lakers. He's got great upside. There's no doubt when he's been healthy. That kid played really well in Charlotte. That kid's not played a lot.
What's your take on this whole fitness issue with Luka? You think he's got a problem?
He always looks big to me,
but
then so does Nikola Jokic. And what's the difference? Luka and Joker are MVPs in the league. They led the teams to the NBA Finals, and one of them won a ring already. So now, can he grow and mature? Will he be conditioned differently? Maybe. Only time will tell. But obviously, as he exited Dallas, those stories just rumored about conditioning and lack of dedication off the floor. But boy, he's still a great player. If that dude's 266 and out of shape, he's still a great player.
Oh, he's unbelievable. And I've just seen a lot of outtakes lately about kind of how he is as a person, kind of always ribbing his teammates, having fun out there. And by the way, one of the listeners also corrected you. They said that you had referenced, I think, that Luka was from Serbia, but he's really from Slovenia.
Slovenia. Okay.
And
My bad.
And that's where First Lady Melania Trump is from Slovenia. You ever been there?
No.
It's
didn't make that road trip.
I went there once,
Oh.
and we were driving in a car from Italy into Croatia. We stopped in Slovenia. There's a place called Lake Bled, and it's this little lake, and there's an island in the middle of the lake, and on top of that island is a castle. I mean, it's magical, so what a great place. And the people in Slovenia were terrific. So I'm looking forward to learning more about Luka.
Good guy, good player. We'll see if he has any physical woes here, but the unique part of what the Lakers have done is they now have a 25-year-old superstar and they have a 23-year-old young center. So those guys are the cornerstones going forward in this twilight of LeBron James' career.
Yeah, it's going to be neat. We'll see how it goes.
Next one.
Okay, let's go to Callan. He goes, afternoon, gents. I had a friend ask me on Monday night, with all the NBA trades, what I thought was the best sports trade deadline. I think they're all equally exciting. What do you think?
Well, baseball historically, their trade deadline has been superb. The NBA trade deadline has really grown a lot in the last couple of years, but I think a lot of the NBA, Callum, is being driven by teams dumping contracts. I don't want this guy. You can have his contract. The Miami trade, Jimmy Butler, that was triggered by who Butler has become as a person and the problem he's created. But it also had to do with a lot of Miami getting expiring contracts. They got one contract from Golden State, Andrew Wiggins. That's $28 million at the end of the year that they get cap space when Wiggins is not re-signed. Another one was a $13 million acquisition. So, Miami, I think, in total picked up like $51 million in expiring contracts. So dumping contracts is kind of part and parcel of what the NBA has become. National Hockey League, a lot of trades coming up with the March deadline. A chunk of that's got to do with guys that are making a significant amount of money. The teams they're up against the wall, and the only way they're going to get breathing room for off-season acquisitions is move contracts now. So I would swear to you that probably half the NHL trades kind of contract driven. I would say 2/3 of the NBA trades are contract driven. Baseball is still, that's kind of old school. That's player for player. And NFL trade deadline is changed because of the new breed of general manager, the Ivy Leaguers, as I call them. There are more trades in the NFL, but not to the magnitude of there are 25 trades since today is Thursday. 25 trades since Tuesday in the NBA. Man, that's a lot of transactions.
That's a lot of scrib notes right there for all you're keeping track of. To me, the MLB trade deadline has sort of a romantic kind of a feel about it because
history.
It's the history and it was like a chance for a team could really transform themselves. If your team was contending and they were going all in, it was like a magical moment. And you couldn't wait to tell your friends, oh my God, we just got this guy and we got rid of that guy. And it was like just an explosion of excitement.
Yeah, because they have the winter baseball meetings. It's like another trade deadline too, which is kind of cool. Hot stove league.
Yeah. So hopefully the whole NIL transfer portal goes this way. But I know that even the NFL trade deadline used to be kind of no news. And lately it's been pretty volatile as well.
New breed of general manager. I didn't draft you. I don't think you can play. I don't give a crap. Now, some of these guys take salary cap hits by doing that. But this new breed of general manager, the guys from Harvard, they're going to operate by their own standards. And just because the last general manager made a mistake, I'm not keeping you.
Yeah,
it's a different world.
It is a different world.
Thank you, Callum.
Okay, let's go down the list. We'll go here to Carlos. And Carlos says, Hacksaw, what do you think of the latest Lakers move acquiring a big man from Charlotte, only 23 years old? How about that blowout Lakers-Clippers game? The Lakers are back. Go Kings, go.
Well, we can't base the whole Lakers season just on one lopsided win against a Clippers team that for some reason seemed really disengaged. They didn't play very well at all. And the Lakers came out. I watched that thing. Lakers hit 12 of the first 15 shots. Lakers hit five threes in the first 8 minutes. But that's one game. One game does not impact a whole season, and now obviously the whole chemistry has changed. So I'll be intrigued to see Luka once he gets back totally healthy with King James. And in terms of Mark Williams, I just have reservations. And this kid has had back injuries. Like I said, he's played 82 games. He's missed 128 games in 2.5 years in Charlotte. That's an iffy track record, and he's playing a position in which there's a lot of jumping, a lot of pounding. You're going to get knocked down and all that. And he's got a history of back injuries now. So I'd be a little bit concerned about that. You better enjoy, if you're a Laker fan, you better enjoy your team because they have no way to get better. If anything happens, there's no way they're going to be able to improve this product. So enjoy what you've got here with Luka, and hopefully this kid holds up and you got the twilight of the career LeBron, which I still think he's got good basketball left, but they have no depth at all, and they have no way to make anything better if something happens.
Isn't this whole Dalton Knecht thing kind of weird? I mean, we were all excited about him.
Oh, wait.
What?
Do you want me? I'll just go ahead on my cell phone and I can invoke the day after the NBA draft. I'll invoke the comments I made.
Okay, tell me.
I said, what came out of my mouth after they drafted Dalton Knecht?
If I thought you were pretty high on the pick.
I asked the question, him there where they selected him? Yeah, he can shoot the hell out of the ball. I don't think he's got any foot quickness to be able to play NBA defense. And why did they hit the eject button on Dalton Knecht in the middle of the night this week? A, because he was erratic shooting the three, and B, he could not play defense. He's slow of foot.
Interesting.
And what did your co-host, loudmouth talk show host on this side of the table say the day after the draft?
Okay.
Why him?
I'm going to have to go back. Maybe one of the listeners on YouTube can go back and check that out. So, yeah, we're going to find out more about this thing, but I just think the Lakers, if things don't go their way and they don't win it with LeBron, they're going to be screwed for a long period of time.
Well, they'll be screwed because they're going to have Luka, and they will have LeBron's cap money once LeBron steps aside. But as I say, when you don't have any number one picks at all through 2031, how are you going to get better? Big issue. Okay.
Big issue.
Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Lenny, the cool down Dawson. Hey, Lee, the coaching edge goes to the Chiefs by far. Andy Reid had 2 weeks to prepare.
As we did our Super Bowl breakdown, mad scientist, not just him, and he's brilliant. Spagnuolo's unbelievable too. Now, that being said, I just don't know how Kansas City's defense holds up against the best offensive line in pro football. And the flip side, I just don't know how Kansas City's defense holds up, trying to stop Saquon Barkley and then having the people to go after Jalen Hurts. I just happen to think the Eagles get the plus mark in both the offensive line and the defensive line. And I don't know how Kansas City's offensive front is going to contain Carter and all these other guys that Philadelphia's got. I mean, those guys are warriors up front for Philadelphia. Philadelphia's front seven might be as physical as anybody. And now Philadelphia's, all their young guys on the back end with Darius Slay, they have no fear. They'll man coverage. They'll single coverage on all those receivers because those kids can run. I think Philadelphia's a really complete team. You may dislike me, but I think you'll be buying me Philly cheesesteaks when the Super Bowl's over on Sunday night.
You know, it's funny because you talk about how Andy Reid has 2 weeks to prepare.
Yes.
And, he's always cooking up a scheme. And I remember, like, in one of the Super Bowls, didn't he have, like, Travis Kelce and the Wildcat? And, and just some of these kind of creative things. What were some of the ones that you liked the most?
I just look at the formation and say, holy crap, I've never seen that before. And I watch the games. I love the big plays. But I watch formations. I watch motion. And I sit there at home and I watch them. They went to a wing T in the game against Buffalo. They lined up Kelce, another tight end, and a running back. I think it was Kareem Hunt behind Mahomes. I'd never seen that before.
Oh, wow.
Not in the NFL. They ran a wing T. Then they ran pistol with Kelce in the backfield with both the Pacheco and Hill. Never seen that before. And what they do offer it, then put guys in motion. Defense leans one way, and Mahomes hip pockets and runs for a first down. He had 5 rushing first downs, most of them off weird formations that Buffalo had never seen. So that's what Andy Reid does. And I'll give you just a quick 30-second flashback. This is the 30th anniversary of the Chargers, the San Diego Chargers, going to the Super Bowl against the 49ers. And they got devastated, and they got blown out, and Steve Young threw 6 touchdown passes, and you all know that history. And I told the story that I talked to Bobby Ross when we were coming home, And everybody was just emotionally devastated that they got destroyed by the 49ers who had a great offense. And Bobby said, Lee, we broke down over 17 games. The last 17 games that 49ers had played, John, we broke down every formation. We thought we had every formation that they'd run and how to defend it. And they got into that Super Bowl game, and the first 6 snaps, they ran 6 formations the Chargers had never seen. And they scored 2 touchdowns on 6 plays, and it was 14-0, and the game was over. And I'll forever close my eyes, and I'll see Junior Seau at middle linebacker turning, trying to reset the secondary because of these weird formations. They lined up Jerry Rice in the backfield. They lined up the star running back Ricky Waters in the slot. They had Brent Jones and Jerry Rice in the backfield. And the Chargers, Junior's trying to direct traffic while the ball's getting snapped. And these guys are running wide open down the middle and the seam, and 2 touchdown passes just like that. And Bobby said, we scripted 17 games. We found every formation they'd ever run. We thought we had it all devised, and they hit us with 6 formations on the first 6 plays we never saw. 14-0, Super Bowl over.
Well, that was George Seifert, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and he was a defensive coach.
Yes,
So,
but he inherited everything from Bill Walsh.
okay, so he's had all that. I remember Bill Walsh used to always script the first 10 or 20 plays.
Well, everybody does, but then they scripted with stuff you've never seen. That's what happened. That's what the Chiefs did to Buffalo. That's what the Chiefs do every year in postseason. They run formations you've never seen on video. And now you got to make an adjustment. And it's just not the formations. Then they do stuff with motion. They show you run one thing with motion, and you think, okay, I'm watching Kelsey go in motion, or I'm watching Hollywood Brown go in motion. And they run a typical play off the motion, but you're defending the motion, and there's Mahomes going up the seam for a 21-yard run off the package that just showed at the line of scrimmage. It's just the chess game. That's what it is.
It is. And then, Mahomes takes it to another level where he's about to get hit, or he'll slow down a little bit and try to entrap the penalty on the hit for the quarterback. Yeah. There'll be some of that too.
Mahomes is going to have his hands full though, because Jalen Carter and that fraternity up front, they're damn good. They are really good. Okay, let's move on.
Moving on. Let's go to Joey, because I like the Sam Darnold rumor for the Raiders.
Anything's possible. I mean, it's a clean piece of paper as it relates to the Raiders. And now, as you know, Sam Darnold dropped this hint at the Super Bowl this week on Press Row. He said, I'm enthralled. You sure that's an adverb, not an adjective? Yeah.
So that's a verb.
Adverb. I'm enthralled to think sitting down with Tom Brady talking offense, working under Chip Kelly as coordinator, playing for Pete Carroll and all his energy. So they're going to have a chance to get a guy. Now the question is, what's the price tag? Sam Darnold going to ask for $35 million based on one really good year in Minnesota. Do they have the brass to trade up? Could they get as high as number 2 and maybe get Shadur Sanders? I mean, there'd be a lot of moving parts. Once we're through the Super Bowl, then we get to the offseason in the NFL and the draft and free agency. But the one thing is they got 10 draft picks and they have $107 million in cap space. So, Joe, I agree with you. It's going to be fun following what the Raider Nation does, because they got to get a quarterback. Desperate to get a quarterback.
Yeah, the Darnold just makes too much sense right here. And
if that's the real Sam Darnold,
or
is this an invention of Kevin O'Connell's brilliance?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because wouldn't it be something though if Sam Darnold, because was he like a first-round pick?
Yeah, out of USC.
Yeah, and he's like a San Juan Capistrano guy or something.
In a bad situation with the Jets, and then he's been all over the place. Got cut a couple times. Went to Carolina. That turned out to be a disaster. But that's stud quarterback, bad team around him.
So you kind of root for his success, And imagine now going to the Raiders and being the savior of the Raiders with Tom Brady by your side.
So are you mandating to me, voice of the Chargers and Seahawks, longtime talk show, are you mandating I have to root for the Raiders if Darnold winds up there? Or are you addressing everybody there that's waiting to get on?
I think you're secretly hoping Sam Darnold reverts to his old form, so then they'll be the silver and bleak.
No, I'm fascinated too. I really am. Is fascinated an adjective or an adverb? Sam Darnold used enthralled, but we'll see where this goes. It'll be fun once we get beyond Super Bowl Sunday. Let's move on.
Okay, let's go here to Foul Play Rob. He goes, would Anthony Richardson be a plan A or B if the Rams traded Stafford away?
Item 1, Stafford is coming back. He's already informed them. Item 2, they're going to get a contract extension done. It's going to have more guaranteed money. It's probably a 2-year deal or maybe 1 year and an option. It's up to Stafford at age 37 how much longer he wants to play, because he has taken a lot of hits. He's had a bunch of injuries, but he's the catalyst that kind of drives this thing. So Stafford's there. Anthony Richardson at Indianapolis, there's a growth thing that has to happen with him. He's 2 years into his career. He's had 3 major injuries. There's a huge question. He's got to become a, quote, student of the game, and he's not there yet, but they've kind of committed. They're going to continue to develop him. So Stafford's the guy in L.A., and Richardson is going to be in Indianapolis.
I'm kind of rooting for Richardson. I mean, because he showed us something. I mean,
he's a stud. He's a great athlete, but it's more than athletic ability. His athleticism has gotten him killed. That's why he's had so many injuries. But you have to be a student of the game. And the light bulb goes on. It's not like everybody can be Patrick Mahomes, who's just fanatical about being fanatical in terms of preparation.
Now, what I'm trying to remember some of these Mahomes stats, but has it been 5 or 6 AFC championships in a row and 6 out of the last 7 Super Bowls?
This is his 5th Super Bowl in 7 years.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah, and his record in postseason is now 17-3, which is phenomenal.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just incredible.
And again, he's quarterbacking for a mad scientist.
Wow.
It's cool. I mean, appreciate the guy. People walking around. I run into people all the time here in San Diego that are just absolute grudge mode. Wait a minute. Appreciate the accomplishment of what Kansas City is. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I don't think we'll ever see, because of the injury factor in the NFL and free agencies change the landscape, ever see the potential to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. So appreciate the accomplishment, even if you hate the color red. But, I mean, what they've done, and like we did in our preview, those 2 general managers, the construction of those 2 rosters in KC and Philly, absolutely amazing what Roseman and Veach have done, and they get no credit at all. I mean, those organizations, you wish you had that type of leadership with that type of IQ to scout, sign, draft, and bring in quality players.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting argument, is that there is a salary cap in the NFL. More so, it's harder than in other sports, but yet we've got the Chiefs winning all the time because they have a great organization.
Exactly.
So it kind of goes to show you, like, what is the real thing? Is it money? Is it leadership that really makes a team great?
Football IQ.
Yeah.
They don't make mistakes on draft picks. Look, when I broke down that list for you, how many draft picks are in their starting 22? One team has 14 of their 22 are their own players. The other has 15. It's fabulous.
Yeah, the track record is great.
Yeah, the antithesis is the freak Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. Those guys are in trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, but just how is it possible that a quarterback as great as Patrick Mahomes is ended up going to Texas Tech?
His dad was from there. He's a Texas kid. I don't think he was highly, highly recruited out of high school. And again, he had to be in a special offense to work with his skills. Not everybody was running what Texas Tech ran, And so Kansas City, when the draft board came, people were a little suspect. Oh, yeah, he put up great numbers, but he's a gimmick guy on a gimmick offense. Yeah, Kansas City traded up to get him. A lot of people bypassed him. But the theory was, Andy Reid, I can run that offense. Let's get him as a trigger man. We'll run it. And he's run it. He's had no catastrophic injuries. He's been dinged a little bit. He's had no catastrophic injuries at all. I was just a marquee player.
I just remember that first year he was in the league and he was just blowing everybody away.
He was doing stuff that nobody ever seen. That's so unorthodox.
Exactly. Yeah. And they would say he was playing like quarterback, like a double play combination plays in baseball with these little sidearm flips and these unusual throws.
Yeah. I mean, his ability to create a play out of a broken play and then kill you, throwing from every arm slot possible. Elway used to do some of that by moving the pocket. This is the young John Elway out of Stanford, but he no way athletically is he equal to what Patrick Mahomes has been. So then we got Mahomes doing it, and all of a sudden here comes Lamar Jackson. Now, Jackson's problem is he didn't have a lot of players around him, and Jackson's problem was he kept turning the football over for all the dynamic plays he would make downfield. He made massive chunk plays. He got better and better, and for this is the best group of players Baltimore ever had around Lamar Jackson. And they fell apart in the playoffs because he turned it over and the weather elements in Buffalo worked against him. But yeah, Mahomes is the beginning of the changing of the quarterback stature. Lamar Jackson was the next one. Jordan Love might be the next one in line in terms of doing things uniquely because they're so athletic. And maybe the whole league is going to change because now everybody is gravitating towards, hey, can we find one of those guys?
Yeah, it just makes you wonder what the future is going to be like.
Sure. No, concur.
Okay, let's keep going. We'll go a little Dodger talk here with Val. Hey, Dodgers have always been known for having a strong farm system. Remember when they had 5 straight years of Rookie of the Year awards?
Oh, yeah. Running through the Steve Sachs era, and the first baseman was it Mike Marshall or Greg Brock. And historically, farm system has always been special with the Dodgers. And now the unique thing is Baseball America and MLB.com just put out the rankings of the farm systems. And here's the Dodgers with their record-setting spending spree and their superstar everyday major league lineup. And now they're ranked 3rd in all of baseball for what they have in the farm system, despite all the surgeries to their pitchers. Dodgers are just spectacular. Padres have got 2 really good young players at Class A or maybe Double A, but the Padres are ranked 28th because A.J. Preller has traded so many guys away. There's just not a lot there in terms of numbers, and Angels just seem to be hopeless. They're at number 30. Now, in defense of the Halos, they've force-fed and they've rushed all their draft picks to the top, and that's why they lost 99 games. So you got to invest. You have to have patience, and you hope you can get through the injury factor and keep them there. And if you have a general manager that keeps trading them, that's going to work against you. And that's where we are in San Diego compared to where they are at Dodger Stadium.
Dodgers. So that run, I remember 5-0. You talk about sacks. I think Eric Karros, Mike Piazza,
Sure,
Raul Mondesi maybe was in that list. And then that was right around the time, I think, when the Dodgers had Pedro Martinez, didn't they?
Yep.
Because he had the older brother played there with the Dodgers.
Ramon.
Yeah. And then I think he ended up getting sent to Montreal.
Right.
And then eventually from there to Boston.
Right. I wasn't Pedro Guerrero part of that mix too, I think.
Oh, yeah. I remember that guy. Yeah. But that was when the Dodgers had all these superstars, but they still never won that much in the 90s. Right?
Yeah, I think there were pitching issues there somewhere along the way.
Was that the McCourt era? Or was that more in the 2000s?
McCourt had to be in the early 2000s. That was a dark era that turned out to be.
Yeah.
Okay, we move on.
Moving on. All right, let's go here. We'll go to David, a little more Dodgers talk. Dodgers are going to sell out all away games this year. People want to hate them, but people want good baseball, so they will come. Rockies come to town. I can get a ticket same day. Dodgers, good luck.
It is interesting. The owners' meetings are still going on in West Palm Beach, and one of the things that was going to be discussed, I think either today or tomorrow, the owners are going to talk about a salary cap. Despite what Tony Clark saying, we will never sit and discuss that. The owners are talking about a salary cap because they want balance, competitive balance in baseball. They don't want a Colorado Rockies situation, a Pittsburgh Pirates situation, etc. Now, that conversation probably also has to include the words Florida spending. So if you're going to hard cap or you keep the luxury tax in place, there has to be a Florida spending that forces the Miami Marlins and Tampa Bay to spend all their revenue streams that they're getting and reinvest it into their major league roster. I'll guarantee you, if there's a Florida spending, there will be a group of second-tier major league pitchers or second-tier bats who are good players, veteran guys, who will wind up going to Tampa and Miami because that's where the payday is. And if these guys go to Tampa, Miami, Pittsburgh, Detroit, that's going to make them better teams. So now you got a much more balanced competitive league than what we've got right now. I mean, Dodger fan loves the franchise. Dodger fan will sell out in LA. They'll sell out every stadium that they go play in. But is it, again, the end of the day argument, John, is it good to have 5 great teams in baseball and 25 teams that can't compete because there's economic issues in a lot of other places and owners are not spending? You tell me what's good for the game.
You know, it's like the NBA has the Washington Wizards, and the NFL even has the Jaguars, and there was always programs that are in disarray. But I think the Dodgers, that's like, if you are living in Chicago, you want to go see a game at Wrigley, that's the game you're going to buy. But after the 2017 World Series, I remember the fans really booing the Houston Astros. And that lasted for a couple of years.
Well, that's the garbage can gate thing.
Well,
But that's
yeah.
because they were cheaters, not just dominant players. They cheated.
So I don't know. I think it's questionable to see if the booing of the Dodgers is different than the booing of the Astros.
Oh, I think it is.
Is it going to be louder? Is it going to be more hateful? I mean, I'm curious what the vibe is going to be.
Yeah. But you still have incompetence and ownership. Even if you have a floor to spending, that does not guarantee you don't have a 121 loss Chicago White Sox team because their front office has screwed that thing up so badly, or all the players they invested in all bombed. You know, there was about, I'd say 24 months ago, you looked at the White Sox roster and you thought, holy cow, look at all these young Caribbean players. Eloy Jimenez, Moncada, a couple others. And you thought
Luis Robert.
You thought they won the bidding war. They signed them all. They all washed out. They all got hurt. None of them have done anything. And then the White Sox wind up with old players that they paid too much money for, Jose Abreu, et cetera. They wind up with 121 losses and just absolute god-awful product on the field. So, yeah, you could have a luxury tax in place. You can have a floor to spending, but you got to make sure your baseball people are making the right decisions as it relates to acquisitions.
The White Sox traded Fernando Tatis Jr. for James Shields.
And a bad contract.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a great example of what's wrong with that organization. You're talking about Miami, and I was reading in the Best 15 that the Marlins are thinking about trading for bigger contracts if the other team subsidizes them.
Well, if the other team will pay some of the money on the contract, yeah, maybe. But the union is also really focusing on these guys who are not spending. I mean, it went after Tampa Bay. That's why the Oakland Athletics made 3 deals in the offseason to get Luis Soriano and a few other major league pitchers, because the union's targeting those guys to discipline them for not doing it. So that's happened. By the way, speaking of names in the news, your left fielder has a contract today.
Who's that?
Tommy Pham.
Oh, he got signed.
He's going to Pittsburgh.
Really?
He signed a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I have a love-hate relationship with Tommy Pham.
Yeah, he's on his 10th team in 12 years.
Yeah, but that dude, man, he's going to fight, and he wants to win. And I just hope he doesn't have like a hamate bone snap we had here in San Diego.
Staying power's a little suspect everywhere. He played for 3 teams last season, but that just happened before we came on the air.
But you heard his story, because he grew up in Vegas, and I think he comes from a Vietnamese family,
Yeah.
and he had, I think his dad was in prison or something like that. And there were other families in Vegas when he was young that played travel ball that they sort of sponsored him, took him under his wing, and he got to play a lot of ball. But he came from the tough side of the tracks.
It's kind of like he's in grudge mode all the time, and that's okay. I mean, he had a couple real good years with St. Louis, but then they moved him, and he's bounced all over the place, and he's had just a lot of junk off the field. But so he got a 1-year contract in Pittsburgh as pitchers and catchers report. Okay, let's take a couple more here.
Okay, a couple more, and there's some comments here about the big hit in the NHL. Hartman or Perfetti. Hartman hit on Ehlers.
Exactly. Again, Hartman has been disciplined 4 times, suspended. He's been fined 7 times. If you saw the hit, and John's going to go look at the hit when we're done, you saw the hit that he put on that Ottawa player, he could have broken the guy's neck. And then Hartman has the audacity to appeal this 10-game suspension. The league says absolutely not, repeat offender. There's a bigger issue, though, in the league, Cowboy, and I'm sure he's from the O Canada network. There's a bigger issue in the NHL about lack of respect player to player. I put this guy out of the game, it's good for my team. He put this guy out of the game and ended his career. How's that good for hockey? There's got to be stronger penalties against guys who commit violent acts on the ice and are repeat offenders. Because I'm allowed to have a career in the NHL. I should not have to have a risk coming across the blue line that somebody's going to poleaxe me and break my neck or knee check me and destroy my knee. League's got to do a better job, and I don't think they've done a good job. The violence I have seen in terms of the fights and the hits this year, it's the worst I've seen in 3 to 4 or 5 years. And the league was cleaning this thing up, and now it seems they've just gotten away. And with apologies to everybody in the old Canada network, I just don't think violent acts on the ice make the game better. I think that's a terrible blight. I might be old school, but you're talking about somebody who came out of the slapshot leagues, and that was really bad hockey. That was bad violent hockey. And now I'm really turned off by that because these guys have a right to earn a living.
They do. I mean, here Gary has a follow-up on this. He says the NHL suspension decisions are the worst of the four major sports. They always give out short suspensions for dangerous or dirty hits.
Yeah. And if you got repeat offenders, everybody that does this, you should double the last suspension he had. If there's another Ryan Hartman incident in Minnesota, they should suspend his ass for 20 games and take 20 game checks away. But they just have to clean this thing up, because you have a right, Gary, to earn a contract playing for the Winnipeg Jets or the Minnesota Wild. Why does the defenseman in Edmonton have a right to end your career with a very dangerous hit? And, when you clip guys at center ice, these guys who do knee-on-knee checks, you run the risk of destroying your own knee at the same time. Why would you do that? Why would the league allow that to happen? I mean, Gary Bettman's done some great things in the NHL, but this discipline issue is so erratic. It just drives me out of my mind, because it's a great game. It's not a great game when you got all these guys injured.
You've got to believe that they know that the fighting element is something that fans want to see. And even though it's a little bit like WWE, but these guys are getting knocked around. They get concussions, CTE. Mm-hmm. It's a delicate thing, because they can't really say maybe what they're thinking. And that is, this is entertainment. We want to sell tickets. We want violence.
I've seen some clips on hockey that are just so, in the minor leagues, is so brutal. And my responses, I put it up on Twitter a couple times. I said, these two guys will be filing to become members of the CTE club in about 5 years. And all you need is go back and look at how many NHL players have died. Some have committed suicide by virtue of concussions, brain damage, and then they do the autopsies at Boston University, and they all got grade 3, grade 4 CTE because of this.
Yeah.
And this was allowed to happen. And I get a real problem with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, keep moving. All right, let's go here to Larry, talk about the Lakers. He goes, LeBron Barron just didn't like Anthony Davis. I saw that coming and him getting traded somewhere.
It's a real interesting angle to the story that broke this morning, that in the aftermath of the overnight deal, they traded Dalton Knecht in the #1 pick, and they got Mark Williams out of Charlotte. Evidently, Rob Pelinka met privately after Luka got here, and they talked about the style of center that Luka Doncic wanted to play around. High post, passer, cut, be able to run pick and rolls, cuts, and Mark Williams, that was his strength. It's interesting that Pelinka canvassed Doncic. He didn't talk to LeBron. He talked to Doncic about the kind of post guy that Doncic thought would play great his game. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I mean, well, this is a whole new era now.
So LeBron's no longer player, captain, pseudo general manager.
Yeah, exactly. So they better win this year, because you don't know what's going to happen next year.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, we move on. I think it's time to go check out some social media here. So actually, here's one from John. He goes, nothing to contribute today. Caps and Flyers coming up. Ovi at 878, 17 to go.
Yeah, Alexander Ovechkin is 17 goals back of Wayne Gretzky's legendary record. I never thought, and again, I broadcast hockey before I came here to be the voice of the Chargers and have a career in sports talk and do NFL play-by-play. I never thought I'd ever see anybody break Gordie Howe's record of 801 goals. And Gretzky just blew by it. And now Gretzky is, I think he wound up with 894. So Ovechkin, he's got 17 to go to get to 895. I mean, he's a tremendous player, big and physical. What is he, age 38 maybe? If I'm wrong, John will correct me, but what an accomplishment. I never thought we'd see anybody go beyond 801, and Gretzky did it. And now Ovi's about to do it.
Yeah, that's special. I mean, people racking up the numbers.
Tremendous. Okay, move on.
Moving on. Let's go here to Hector. And he goes, taking a break from the Dodgers talk for John's sake. Thanks. Lee, looking forward to San Diego joining the MLS. And look, they get to see a championship banner raise first game. Go Galaxy.
Yeah, they're going to play the Galaxy right out of the gate here in a couple weeks as they move into the month of February. Fascinated to see. They've built this thing from the goal out. They've acquired a number of veteran defenders and midfielders. I want to know if they have enough firepower to go with Chucky Lozano from Mexico. We'll find out as the season starts. I think it's going to be a slow growth process. It's going to be fun. I'll be honest with you. I pay some attention to MLS. I just don't have enough hours in the day to do it all. I do pay an enormous amount of attention to the World Cup, and I'm so excited with what Mauricio has brought to the men's side, and obviously having the chance to talk to Emma Hayes, and I know what the women are all about. I just can't wait for World Cup 2026 to show up, because I think America's got two really good teams.
I think it's going to be fun when this team shows up here in San Diego,
Sure.
starts playing MLS, because San Diego's a great soccer community. They always get great ratings for the World Cup, and this, granted, it is sort of minor league. It's not the EPL. It's not
La Liga in Spain and France.
It's none of that. But at least it's a local team. We can follow them, and hopefully they get great support. And I know the Wave on the women's side got great support
out of the gate,
but then everything went to hell with their ownership and their management. So if these guys, Manny Machado is one of the owners of this new FC team.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens here. I'm all for it. I kind of want to follow them. I want to kind of dig in and really get to know these players.
We'll do that. Okay, let's go to social media. What else you got?
What else you got here in social media? Let's roll down the list here. Okay, let's talk NFL. And this is with DF2324. He goes, I'm in Chicago and love the Raiders, but come on, guy. The Raiders are going to be bad, real bad. Love the coaching hire and the GM. Good energy, but the Raiders will be the Raiders and the Bears will be the Bears.
I don't know that I necessarily agree that, because the Raiders have so much cap space, and the Raiders have 10 draft picks, and the Raiders have Pete Carroll's energy, Chip Kelly's X's and O's brilliance as a play caller, and they got Tom Brady's insight as a consultant. So I think they can flip this a lot quicker if they get the right quarterback. And I'm not sure who the quarterback's going to be. Is it Sam Darnold? Was Sam Darnold great in Minnesota because Sam Darnold finally had good players around him? Was it great because of Kevin O'Connell? Or did he regress at the end of the season when they kind of got creamed last couple of games? There's all kinds of names out there. Is Russell Wilson got any gas left in the tank? But he played for Pete, and they played really, really well. And Russell Wilson seems to be cut from the cloth of the type of scrambling quarterback that Chip Kelly wants. So there's going to be a wide variety of guys out there. Or do they trade? But to go from where they are in the draft, what are they, 12, I think, in the first round? Or maybe it's 6. But to try to get one or two, you got to overpay. Are you going to get the quarterback out of Miami? Or are you going to get Deion's kid out of Colorado? That remains to be seen.
Doesn't it feel like a different vibe with the Raiders now with Tom Brady? I mean, it's like you kind of have, at least for me as a former Raider fan in my youth, there's hope, I think, for Raider Nation.
Well, it's that hope because of Brady's intelligence, the hope because of Pete Carroll's energy, and the hope because of Chip Kelly's X's and O's creativeness. That's hope. But you got to have a roster to make sure you can execute.
Well, people are going to want to play there that otherwise wouldn't have wanted to play there.
I agree with you.
So, and the Bears, the National Football League is better when both of these franchises are relevant.
And let's just see what Ben Johnson does with Caleb Williams. I think that'll be positive. Now, they got to fix the rest of it. But again, teaching Caleb Williams what to do and not to do with pressure, that'll come from that new head coach, because Caleb Williams, he got sacked 68 times because he ran himself into quarterback sacks. This isn't USC where you can run around. Here you run around, you get plastered.
Yeah.
So that new coaching staff will change how he approaches the line of scrimmage, how he reads. Everybody that I've gotten information from said he is a hell of a student of the game. He's a smart guy. And he's a real gifted athlete. The thing is not to get him killed. And the thing is have him make better decisions, which means get the ball out of there or throw it away. Don't take sacks. Don't drop back 18 yards trying to run away from pressure because you wind up getting nailed anyhow. That's a learning curve experience, maturity thing.
What's interesting is, he was at Oklahoma as a freshman. And I remember Spencer Rattler was the starting quarterback, and he was struggling, even though he was like a really high profile, signee at Oklahoma. And then Lincoln Riley made the switch, and he had Caleb Williams start over Rattler, and he was dynamic, explosive. He was doing things on the field that Rattler never thought about.
Oh, he's more of an athlete than Rattler.
Oh, for sure. And he would, some of these plays he'd pull out of his back pocket. It was just tremendous. But if you notice that Spencer Rattler now is with the Saints?
Yeah, he started games at the end of the season because they were so busted up with injuries, but he's just a guy.
Yeah, at the NFL level, he is just kind of a guy. Yeah.
He's not Caleb Williams, trust me.
No, he's not.
Let's do one more here.
Okay, let's talk Padres, and this is with Tony. He goes, Why include LA in your Padre inner turmoil? Hacksaw, what bothers me the most is you complain too much. Petco is still going to sell out no matter what the record is. They're going to bring in the revenue. Why are you crying? They're going to have more wins than losses. They probably will make a wild card. Why are you crying?
I'm not crying. I'm just giving you the facts. The facts is the ownership has told them this payroll is going to be cut. Their payroll as of lunchtime today was $215. That's after they signed Michael King. That ownership has said payroll must come down to under 200. So that means there's going to be at least 15 million that has to leave that payroll by virtue of a trade. And that might be Dylan Cease. It might be Luis Arise. I don't think it's going to be Cronenworth. But now if you trade guys who are cornerstones to your lineup, that means you have less in the lineup. You're going to get young guys back, but who's to say the pitcher they get is equal to Dylan Cease at age 24? So I'm not crying and whining. I'm just giving you the facts of where we are right now. And well, give AJ Preller a window. He's still got time to do this. But I do think there will be transactions. If they got to go from 215 to under 200, that's 15 mil. If they got to go down to 190, that's 25 million he's got to remove from that payroll. I'm just quoting you the numbers that are there. I'm not whining or crying about it. I'm just telling you they did business. This is what they committed to. This is what owners have told him he's got to spend. So somebody's got to vacate San Diego. You think I'm whining and crying? I'm not. I'm giving you the facts, Jack.
No, but people always say that. You always complaining. You're old grouchy man. They always get on your case about that. But what's funny is if you think about what the Padres have right now, and then time warp yourself 10 years backwards in time, you'd be overjoyed.
Sure.
By having Tatis and Machado and Jackson Merrill and Dylan Cease and Michael King, and hopefully everyone's still on the roster when opening day comes. They still do have a good team. They're going to still be a wild card, hopefully, but there's no way they're going to be winning over 100 games or even over 90. I mean, there's just no way.
With apologies, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm crying on this. Let's go stand in this corner. I lose my mind when I think about last October. I lose my mind when I think about one game away from beating the Dodgers in the playoffs.
It was brutal.
And I swear to you, they would have won the National League Championship Series against the Mets.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. But they're one game away from beating the Dodgers, and they go 24 straight innings without a run, and the whole thing evaporates. And I think about that now, and I maintain they have a short window to do this. And they burned away one of the years in which they could do it. And now with the payroll deductions that owners have mandated they must do, that second window, that might be closing. And if that's the case, game over, because they got nothing. The farm system is going to be able to replace what they're getting.
Yeah, but AJ is going to rebuild. He's going to restock the shelves. I got to get one more comment in here from Aztec Mike.
Okay.
Yes.
Here we go.
Here we go. I want to get his comment in here, and here he goes. He goes, "Hey, Saw, could barely hear you at the Sean Lewis press conference, but you had great questions. Next one, have them hand the mic to you." Aztec Mike.
Well, there's nobody going to those press conferences. I was shocked. It was me, and it was the Union Tribune beat writer, and it was one TV camera. There's 8 television stations in San Diego. One TV station, KUSI, showed up. One. And me and the UT beat writer, Kirk Kenny. That was it. Other TV stations didn't show up. These websites didn't show up. Daily Aztec didn't show up.
Really? Even the East Village Times?
Didn't show up.
Really?
I was absolutely stunned. So it was Kirk and Lee, Hacksaw and KK. We asked all the bloody questions. And again, it was great. I get along with Sean Lewis, and throw him fastballs and let him foul him off or hit it over the wall. He answered pretty much all the questions. But I don't think he liked the idea that, and I wrote about it. I wrote a one man's opinion column. So if you're an Aztec fan, why don't you go on your email and tell everybody my one man's opinion column is about San Diego State. I don't think he liked the phrase I used, hit the reset button, because last year was a total loss. And now he's lost so many players, including the starting quarterback, Danny O'Neill. They're hitting a reset button. It's like they're starting from absolute ground zero again. I just hope we're not sitting here at another 3-9 season, because it's hard. I'm sorry. It's like they've lost the community. And the fact that nobody in the media outside of Hacksaw and Kirk Kenny is showing up with any regularity to Sean Lewis's press conference, that just blows my mind as to where the program is. on the radar of everybody, media included now, which is stunning.
That's a tough assignment. I mean, you know, for Sean Lewis to come in and transform this thing, and you know, he's got a short window of time to get it done before, you know, he might be on the outs. But tell me a little bit about they signed you, according to your article I read today. They signed a offensive lineman from Michigan State.
He's a California kid who had contacts with the offensive line coach, Mike Schmidt. So he decided to come home as a graduate student.
Okay, so if he got recruited by Michigan State in the Big
He
Ten,
played.
yeah.
He started a bunch of games at Michigan State. So he comes in as kind of an anchor in what's going to be a rebuilt offensive line. And they brought in all these big kids. You know, but he's got 4 new quarterbacks who've never played in a system before. So this is like a year ago this time.
Well, he's got the Central Michigan quarterback and the Michigan Wolverine quarterback.
Yep.
But is there a pecking order? Or we're going to have a competition.
Well, that's what spring football is going to be all about. If you're asking me as we sit here at lunchtime today, I think Bert Emanuel is going to be the starting quarterback because he's got more experience than Denegal, who's the kid from Michigan. Bert Emanuel's from Central Michigan, who's played a lot, and he can run. He's more of a runner, whereas Denegal is a pocket passer. But they got to go through the whole system. So we're back to the learning curve with like Danny O'Neill. And I'm so bothered that he left because they invested so much in him to be the future. And I thought the kid had a really decent 18-year-old freshman season with the pressure he was under. He hardly turned the football over till the bitter end when the whole thing kind of caved in on the coaching staff. But I wish he was here because they'd be that much farther ahead. But between the transfer portal and guys graduating, this is like it's a brand new team. He's got 37 new guys coming in the front door that have never taken a snap in that playbook, including 4 quarterbacks.
But it's like that everywhere, though, isn't
Well,
it?
it is, but
You know,
we're talking about San Diego State.
yeah. Well, they've got some work to do. At least they're putting in new turf in the stadium. That hopefully will work better.
All right. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed everything we're trying to bring your way. We do sports talk the way it should be done. It's so cool to have you part of our podcast. We're moving our Monday podcast to 1:30 every Monday afternoon. And, of course, we have our regular Thursday podcast. Tell all your friends who we are. Hacksaw is back. Check my website. It's all written. It's there every morning. I guarantee you will really like the volume of information. Share. Tell everybody what we do. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Every time we put something up, you'll get an alert. Follow me on Twitter. We really enjoy having you as we move into the 3rd year of doing this podcast.